All right, guys, so this is going to be our warm-up and prep setup here for some upper body work that I'm going to do. I'm going to do a heavier incline press session today. I went really heavy on Wednesday and actually cracked my 500-pound deadlift PR. And in conjunction with that, I was doing heavy bench press work. So my shoulders and chest are pretty smoked today. So today's going to be the perfect day to show you how to use the Isokinetic setting on the Beyond Power Voltra 1s. I've got two of them, so I'm running them in twin mode. So that means they're connected to each other and they're splitting the difference on the force curves. And the Isokinetic setting is a great way of preparing the body to press heavy and strong and feel all the right muscles at the right time. So you'll see here, it's pretty light, it's pretty smooth. If I come back quickly, I get a lot of slack in the cables. And here I'm just preparing my body to feel the positions, right? I can go up and out on a true incline, or I can go out and forward on more of a traditional flat bench type position. Even though I'm seated in a vertical position, you can see that as I change my arm angle, I can get a little bit of value out of each of those positions. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring the camera in close on the Beyond Power so you can actually see what's going on and how we would use something like the Isokinetic setting. What we want to get out of this is the ability to prime the system up, warm it up, and prepare it so that we're getting as much as possible through the concentric phase of the movement. As I lock into this position, there's not much resistance here at the current setting. I've got it set to that force curve of that 2.0 setting here. As I bring it down lower to the 1.0, you'll see it gets dramatically heavier. Okay, so here it's on that 0.1. I'm gonna have quite a bit of struggle pushing through that sticking point, and then the Beyond Power is gonna slowly draw it back. So it's really heavy on the concentric and then really quite light on the eccentric, and we're just focusing on waking the right muscles up and getting in the right positioning as we press. If I go slowly through that action, I can feel my pecs firing up, right? But if I go into a true powerful press and I'm really trying to overcome that isokinetic force that the Beyond Power is creating coming back into the bar, then I can really wake these muscles up to go harder and heavier when I go to my true free weight work. So let's zoom the camera in on the Beyond Power Voltra so you can see what those settings look like and how we would use them and when. Alright, so for the sake of demonstrating here, I've got the camera set to really dark ISO settings. Again, it's about 6 a.m. out here, so you can see the Beyond Power Voltra screen here, and we're in that Isokinetic setting. Okay, and how do we set that up? We're going to go here. All right, I've got the Voltras connected to each other in twin mode. I'm going to click at the bottom here, click Isokinetic, and then set the weight. And this here is what tells you how fast you're going to be able to move that bar. So you can adjust this further, right, by going up to how much constant resistance it's going to give you, right? And the further you go up on that, the more resistance you're going to be getting on the eccentric portion of the exercise. So you saw earlier when I was pressing, there wasn't very much going on as I brought the bar back to my chest, and that would be something that we can adjust as we get going over the course of the sets. So say I'm just warming up and priming up and I want to work a little bit more on my eccentrics, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to increase the eccentric load but decrease the concentric load. I'm not trying to go hard and heavy yet. I'm just warming the joints up, and you're going to see how the force curves change there. Okay, so it's going to be a really light press going forward, and then definitely more of a substantial resistance coming back. So those are going to be the variables that we toy around with when it comes to how much resistance we want to feel at what portion of the exercise. So if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of this, you would change that constant resistance or create an eccentric hold. And we're going to crank that way, way, way up. I did a set. My shoulders are a little bit warmer. The joints are starting to feel some of that looseness from just waking up and getting blood flow. So now you're going to feel more resistance. Again, concentric is going to be quick, boom, explosive. And now I'm feeling the Voltra fighting back against me, right? And I'm having to control a lot more of that force coming down and that dynamic. All right, if I do a double rep, and if I hold the bar down close to my chest, I can feel the Voltra fighting back in each direction. So I want to make sure it's nice and smooth, and it's going to teach me to create even power and even pressure from each side of the body. We're going to add more constant resistance. In this case, 120. Let's go back. We're going to lower the amount of speed we can generate to half of what it just was. And then I'll show you what this looks like from the far out angle and how much more we can get out of it. So now it's going to be heavier on the concentric. I can feel myself fighting through. And let's back that out. Let me turn that off. All right, so again, if I'm thinking warm-up protocol, priming my system to do something heavy on the barbell, which is all any of us are really being tested on, questioned on, what have you, when it comes to training for a specific purpose of, say, something like bench pressing, right? Or I just want to have healthy shoulders in general, and I want to create a neurological system that has the ability to manage a lot of force. You can see that the Voltra is taking me for a ride, and I've got to really set myself into position while I'm fighting with this thing, right? Because it's pulling evenly back and forth. Once I find the right position, you can feel it pull from both sides, right? But if I stay in the center of that force curve evenly. Now in this particular case, I've got the Voltra set to that 1.0 isokinetic. That's 1 meter per second versus the 2.0, which moves a lot faster in the concentric. But I've got 120 pounds of eccentric resistance coming back. If I increase that eccentric, now I'm going to really be fighting hard. I'm going to take that up to 170. And I'm going to bring the concentric action down to 0.1. That's the lowest speed. So it's going to really fight me like crazy. But this is something now I'm ramping up to go over to the straight barbell to free weight. I want to be really amped up, ramped up, ready to go and feel the positioning I need in order to create a lot of force through the bar. I'm going to push. And you can see I'm gassing out there by about the third rep, and already my nervous system's getting really revved up. You can see I'm sweating like crazy. That's a good indication. Number one, it's hot out here. But number two, the nervous system is getting woken up, ready to go. I can feel that my tissues, after 2 or 3 warm-up sets with the Voltra in the isokinetic settings, that my joints feel looser, the muscles feel more awake, and now I feel like my nervous system's more engaged. So it's a good time to move over to the free weights and start working it there. I could, in theory, set the Voltra up down below the barbell so that I'm working similar types of settings through my barbell press. But today I just want to feel that clean, even push of a true free weight barbell press, and I use the isokinetic settings on the Voltra to warm up, prime, and prepare for that end. I smoked my tissues on Wednesday, so today is going to be more of almost like a productive recovery, generate blood flow, realign on some things, and get the nervous system locked back in for what I want to do going into next week's training sessions. So this is more of like a priming session for the following week. I've hit a lot of great goals recently, and the Voltra was a huge part of achieving those goals by using settings like this. So just to reiterate, we put the Voltra in twin mode, we adjust it so that there's hardly any eccentric load on the isokinetic setting and very little concentric load, putting it the 2.0 meters per second, so that when we're warming up, those reps can be fast and smooth and controlled, and then we're going to slowly ramp up in maybe 2 or 3 more warm-up sets or priming sets to decrease the speed of the concentric and really increase the heavy resistance of the concentric, but we're also going to increase the resistance on the eccentric and play with our tempos now. So where we can fight through that hard concentric, we can also speed back through that fast eccentric and teach the body to catch that weight, hold, and come under control so that we know how to adjust our tempo for when we're actually hitting the barbell press. If I'm going for a maximum resistance rep, I'm probably not going to lower the barbell super slow to my chest. I'm going to bring it down, get in position, quick down, quick up, move that bar as quickly as I can, versus trying to load the tissues with more time under tension for more hypertrophy, or just trying to get more mechanical load against the tissues when I'm adjusting the weights that I'm going to lift. If I'm trying to move the bar quickly, I have to have that neurological capacity there, and that's where something like the isokinetic setting can really help. Adjust those resistance levels and the tempos of your movements to help you understand how to hold weight, push weight, control weight through various aspects of the motion, whether it's the eccentric, holding down at the bottom and then locking out and pushing out through the concentric and the sticking point. These are all different ways that you can adjust the variables of the isokinetic settings on the Voltra, guys. So thanks a lot for watching. This conversation was prompted by my conversation with Joe Gray, who is doing a podcast on Voltra 1 and the Voltra experts that are out there. People have been using it a long time, like myself. I don't consider myself an expert necessarily, but I have used the Voltra quite a bit, and I've gotten a lot of great gains out of it in my own training, as well as seeing it with my clients. So check out Joe Gray. I'll put his information in the description below so you guys can follow him. Check out his podcast. He's doing a great job with that. And make sure to head over to beyond-power.com and check out the Voltra 1. If you don't have one, I'll make sure to put my link there so you can go ahead and grab one, or at least learn about it and what it has to offer. Guys, the Beyond Power Voltra is the most advanced direct drive motor system that I've ever seen. I've been using it for years now, and I can honestly say of all of the training tools that I use, it gets the most mileage, and it has gone the distance. I train out on a gym, on a farm, in South Florida, in the heat and humidity daily, and these things can handle every last bit of that beating. So I'll see you in the gym, y'all. Live kinetically.
All right, y'all. So to give you some context and some actionable steps here, I've got the Beyond Power Voltra set up high so I can do essentially a reverse bench press, a heavy neutral row position. I've got the Beyond Power Voltra set to its lowest isokinetic setting with a relatively fast eccentric. I'm not worried about the slow eccentrics here because I would otherwise not get that PAP effect that I'm looking for on my arms coming up. More than anything, I want to establish that strong lat and rhomboid and posterior chain engagement on that lowering portion of the bench press. So I'm using the isokinetic setting to set that up. And here you can see on the screen, I've got it set to a relatively low resistance so that we can get the firing of those fast twitch muscle fibers, and then I'm going to take it up to those higher resistance settings and really work the speed of my arms moving forward and the intensity and the power of my arms moving back. And you'll be able to see that reflected in the amount of force I'm producing. So you see I'm pulling this all the way down to those lower settings, and as I increase the intensity of my pulls, you'll see that force production number coming up from 152, we had 137 there, and then as I start ramping it up over the course of the sets, you'll actually see that I'm hitting in near the 170s, 180s, and nearing 190s towards the end of the set. That means to me that my nervous system is where it needs to be, and now I'm primed up and ready to go for my actual incline bench work, which is why I'm using the Voltra to prime my system anyway. I'm trying to increase the overall strength and power of my incline bench right now and develop that really robust shoulder strength. So as I ramp up into my third, fourth, and fifth sets, my real working sets, I'm really trying to increase the overall power output, which is why you see I'm only doing 3 or 4 reps on those heavy pull downs with that extreme engagement really locking in, really using that heavy resistance to fire up my nervous system, get the recovery that I need between that set into my bench press set, and now I can ramp it up going into the 175 range on that 45-degree incline. I'm getting a lot stronger, and more importantly to me, my posterior chain is more engaged. Something you don't really necessarily see here is that I'm doing my bench press work on the Advanced Muscle Mechanics Launchpad, which is actually increasing the range of motion by about 2 to 3 extra inches. And it's also letting my shoulder blade float a little bit. So I've got to use my scapular stabilizers more, which is why I don't really want to smoke them a whole heck of a lot when I'm doing those heavy pull downs. That's one of the main reasons I'm only doing 3 or 4 reps as a primer. And then the Beyond Power Voltra is actually really taxing my shoulder stabilizers while I'm doing the bench press. So this being my third or fourth set on these heavy pull downs, I'm starting to get to the point where I see that number, that velocity that I'm producing, that force that I'm producing, starting to actually slow down. So I'm going to cut it from there. I'm not going to do a whole heck of a lot more. And I just want to get the absolute max out of this 5x5 set that I did on the incline bench. And I can tell you, man, I felt completely smoked by the end of this superset, and it's really not even a true superset. We're more just thinking, how do we get the nervous system as fired up with minimal impact on the fatigue and maximum impact on force production? That's what we're trying to achieve with each and every one of these sets. This is how you take your training to another level using a device like the Beyond Power Voltra in combination with your more traditional Isokinetic. Thanks for watching.